I was a little hesitant. I was like, I'm going on this hunt. It includes ayahuasca. Will I just sort of sit out and not do the ayahuasca? And then I realized, oh no, like I'm coming to ayahuasca with a different reason. I'm not coming with my own problem. I'm coming to connect more deeply with nature. And I realized that that's how the tribes often used, mostly used the medicine, which was to connect with nature, to connect with the spirits for the hunt, connect with the land just for how they would actually live, and not just to solve problems that they were having. So it felt really beautiful to go into ceremony with ayahuasca and to honor the land, honor nature.
Welcome to All the Good Men, the podcast that is in response to the question, where are all the good men? I'm your host, Fabienne Anique, a sex, love, and spirit coach dedicated to celebrating and supporting healthy masculinity. Join me as we uncover the abundance of remarkable men in our midst. Here we dive into inspiring conversations with incredible men from diverse backgrounds. Together we'll shine a light on the beauty of healthy masculinity and the good men who embody it.
So I wanted to have you on All the Good Men because you're a wonderful man, and as we have been developing our friendship over these past couple of months, it's been so beautiful just to hear your perspective on the world and to see what you're doing in the world, and to be able to share it's that simultaneous play and enjoyment of all things wonderful, and then also this depth and this dedication to understanding ourselves spiritually and understanding the world through that lens. So when you told me about this trip that you were going to go on, and I actually was staying with you, Jeff and I were there visiting you right before you went on this trip. As soon as you told me about it, I was like, I want to hear more. I want to hear about how this is for you, because this trip that you went on felt so deeply spiritual in such a tangible, three-dimensional way. And sometimes those things can get a little bit separated in our spiritual practice of how does this apply to the most real life things that we do. So he went on this trip to Hawaii, and it was an experience that included ayahuasca ceremonies and then hunting as well.
Yep.
So tell me about it. I've been wanting to ask you about it since you went, and I was like, I'm gonna wait for the interview for the podcast. Tell me about this journey. Tell me about this trip.
Yeah, the trip was amazing and really powerful, and maybe I'll start with why I wanted to go on the trip in the first place. I'd always, growing up, had this thing against guns. Guns are for murdering people, or they're for hunters who are trophy hunting, or as a sport. Growing up in Australia, my picture of hunting was Americans or English royalty, in their hats and going out and shooting ducks for sort of sport. And I never really then connected back to whether they were eating that meat or whether it was just for fun. But to me it seemed like it was just for fun. And so I had a real projection around it, and I really wanted to both experience what that projection around hunting was, but also feel connected to what I was eating. I've always thought, I'm eating this food, and it's either been factory farmed, I don't know where it's come from, and I don't feel really connected to it, whether it's meat or vegetables. And should I be eating meat? And I figured that I wanted to go and see whether I could, for me it sort of felt like if I can't go and hunt and shoot an animal and then clean it and prepare it and go through the whole process of the death of an animal all the way to my plate, then maybe I should look at not eating meat. And I know that's not necessarily something that applies to everyone. It's just for me. It was feeling that I really wanted to have that connection. So when this trip came up, it felt really beautiful because it was with an organisation called Sacred Hunting. So it felt like, this is more than just hunting. This is really connecting with nature, doing the ayahuasca ceremonies before, asking for permission, then going on the hunt, and then going all the way through the process of bringing the meat back to my table.
So incredible. Sounds like such a beautiful experience. And this is something that I've thought about in today's day and age. It feels like there is either a rejection of or a distortion of hunting in a lot of what I see. I see either a killing is bad, we shouldn't use guns, and kind of a rejection of the violence of it. But then either eating meat, it's like then I'm eating chicken nuggets or whatever, but there can, or going vegetarian or vegan, because there's this desire to not engage with hunting and with the killing of animals. Or we see killing of animals for fun, we see it for sport. And this isn't to say that there's not something in the middle happening, but I see those as sort of the mainstream, like that's what I hear the most about, is kind of either like, no, I could never kill an animal, or this like, I'm just going out to shoot a bunch of ducks or deer or whatever it is. And there's something so deeply human and so deeply missing, I think, in our modern cultures, in the West at least, where there's a missing link between the honor and respect and reciprocity that goes into the act of actually being part of the whole process, of actually being part of the killing process, of actually being part of the processing process, and actually feeling the life that is lost and the life that is given in that whole process. And the fact that you were able to not only be in hands-on touch with every step of the way, but also to actually be doing it in a way that's asking permission, in a way that's reconnecting to a sense of reciprocity, in a way that's saying, I'm going to get my food from this, and I am asking for this nourishment and this nutrients for my year. And I know that you shared, like, you have meat now for your year, for you and for your dog. And to be in the emotional process as well throughout the whole way, it's something that I think is so deeply missing, where it's either like we shut it out or it's like we shut it off, and there's just the game of it. And so there's something so beautiful about this quality of honoring and being so deeply part of the process. And I can imagine also having these ayahuasca ceremonies as well, that it kind of opens you up to some of the subtler energetics and also the deeper emotions connected to the whole process.
The whole hunt was like a ceremony. Whether or not I had done the ayahuasca ceremonies as part of it, it was still very ceremonial. And I'll run you through the whole experience, but just with the ayahuasca sort of gave that sort of extra level. Like even starting, I had to learn how to shoot a gun, and going to a shooting range and confronting, sport hunters there and other people, and a lot of like loud, like shooting was fairly intense. But then also knowing that I want to practice and know how far I can shoot safely. So I'm not taking a pot shot at an animal that's too far away and then shooting it like in the organs or somewhere where it's injured and in pain. So there was like, I need to have the skills and the training to be able to shoot an animal through the heart at a certain distance. So first I was getting comfortable with that. And what happened was I had decided like 150 yards was the maximum that I would shoot an animal. So what happens is when you go out into the wild in Hawaii, that's when a lot like peer pressure comes in, because I'm with experienced guides who can shoot something at 500 yards or more, and also animals that most of the animals that you come across are further away than 150 yards. So there's an ego thing in I can, it's there, it's clear, and also what you can shoot at a shooting range is very different from like if you're climbing through brushes and you're trying to get close to an animal, and you've got basically, once you set up, you've got a few seconds to take the shot before it runs away. So the heart's pumping as well. So there was a couple of times where I was I was close to shooting the animal. I sat down and I was steadying my breath, and I didn't take the shot. So that was really important to me, to make sure that I took a shot on an animal when I was confident that I was going to shoot it through the heart. But so stepping back to when we first arrived in Hawaii, the first night was an ayahuasca ceremony to connect with the land and the spirits of the animals, to ask permission for the hunt. And what I found really interesting about that was I've done quite a lot of ayahuasca journeys, and they've always been sort of about me, like, how can I heal, or, what's wrong with this, or I want a solution to that. And it felt, in my last ayahuasca journey before this, I had got the message that my medicine was in everyday life and not with ayahuasca again. And so I was a little hesitant. I was like, oh, I'm going on this hunt. It includes ayahuasca. Will I just sort of sit out and not do the ayahuasca? And then I realized, oh no, like I'm coming to ayahuasca with a different reason. I'm not coming with my own problem. I'm coming to connect more deeply with nature. And I realized that that's how the tribes often used, mostly used the medicine, which was to connect with nature, to connect with the spirits for the hunt, connect with the land, just for how they would actually live, and not just to solve problems that they were having. So it felt really beautiful to go into ceremony with ayahuasca and to honor the land, honor nature. And we were in a hunting lodge, so there were like buck stag things, heads on the walls, and I remember really like dropping in the middle of the ayahuasca ceremony. One of those stags just came alive, and it was just beautiful big stag that was running through the forest, and it was sort of showing me as we were like together, like running through the forest. And
wow.
Yeah, it was really beautiful. And then for some, ayahuasca, it turned into snakes, and
Right.
And so there was just a deep connection with the animals and the land. And I remember it was a light journey. We didn't drink a lot of medicine because we were actually getting up so we were drinking the medicine and then finishing at 2:00 in the morning, and then getting up for the first hunt at 5 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
So it was really just like honoring and connecting with the land and the animals, and that was my intention. So that was really beautiful. And then then I was a little worried. I was like, oh my God, I'm getting up at I've had 3 hours sleep, and we're going out in the dark. So we went out, and so we would go out in pairs, even though there was 12 of us. And that first morning, my partner was hunting, so I didn't actually hunt that morning, but that was really beautiful just to see and feel. And then it was my turn, and we didn't actually see an animal that was close enough for me to shoot. So that was an interesting feeling in me, because I could feel this anticipation of killing an animal, but also this fear around it, will I be good enough? Will I injure it? Will I even be able to do it? The next time we went out for a hunt, which was the next morning, I was first to shoot, and the first animal that we came across was about 250 yards away, and I could feel my excitement. I was like, I can do this. I can do and then I remembered that yes, I had shot some things at 250 yards on the rifle range, but I'd also missed quite a lot. And I was like, no, don't get carried away. And the guide was like, oh, do you want to give it a go? And I was like, no, I don't. And so we tried to get closer to the animal. So that's what you do. You try and sort of, climb over cliffs and through bushes and get close enough that, that you can shoot it where you're comfortable. And for that particular one, it just, it ran off. So we came over this little hill, and there was a deer and 2 deer, just so they were axis deer, and this is in Molokai in Hawaii, and they were just standing there, and they were about 100 yards away, so they were super close, and I was like, how come they can't see me? Why haven't they run away? So I'm setting up my little tripod thing to put the gun on, which has got 3 legs, and the guide hadn't set up one of the legs, so the legs moving, and I'm like, I can't shoot it like this. We've got to so fix the leg, and then then still my breathing, and also okay, I'm not gonna they should have run away by now, really. You don't usually get that long. And so I calmed my breathing and then took the shot, and the deer went down. And then you're not supposed to then go straight after the deer. You're supposed to wait sort of 4 or 5 minutes just to make sure that it's dead, because if you have sort of injured it and you try and get close, then it will run away, and then you might lose it in the bushes. So that few minutes was like, oh my God, did I, like, because it fell off the other side of the cliff, did I injure it? Is it there? Has it run away? Did I get it through the heart? Like, and then after the few minutes, we went down to the animal, and it was like kicking and moving, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't kill it. It's injured, and that felt like really, really bad. Yeah. And then the guide came along, and we touched it on its neck, and it was dead, and it was just its nerves just twitching, and we could see that the bullet had gone through the heart, which we confirmed later when we opened it up. But so then it was like really honouring the animal. So the guides gave me like 5-10 minutes just to, well, as long as I wanted to spend with the animal, and I just really put my hand on its stomach, and it felt so beautiful to like connect with something that was that had just ended its life. Like there was a beauty, there was a warmth in there, and there was a warmth that I could feel that was slowly dissipating. And just really thanking the animal for allowing me to take its life, and then sprinkled some tobacco on it, and so that was quite ceremonial. And then the next step is to like carry the animal out. Like it's a big deer, and we're 10-15 minutes walk up a hill and down a ravine away from the truck. So really like getting that animal and putting it like around my shoulders, and then blood sort of streaming down my body as I'm carrying, like feeling just hot liquid like dribbling down my body, but feeling that, oh, okay, now that I've shot this animal, I've got to carry it out. So we carried it out, and then drove it back to the lodge, and then the next step was either the guides would skin it, or they could teach me how to do it, which I really wanted to do. So I really wanted to go through the whole process. So learning how to like cut open each part of the legs, and then ripping off the skin, and it was really fascinating to sort of like dissect a whole animal and understand, like these simple cuts where you could sort of cut, and then the skin would peel off, and where you could cut the meat and the bones, and like those guides are just so professional at it. And so that also felt really beautiful in the sense that most people will they'll either sport hunt, just chop the head off, and and then take that as a trophy, and then the body just gets thrown away, or people will take sort of choice cuts of meat and throw the rest. But I also wanted to take all of the bones and all of the I had a good friend with me as well who was an inspiration to me, because he has I think 10 dogs, and so he was just making sure that on everybody else's animal, he was collecting all of the bones as well to take home for his dog. So it felt really important for me to take, my bones home to my dog as well. And so that was a really beautiful experience. And my doe was pregnant, so that was something that was interesting as well. It's like, I just took a pregnant animal as well, and cutting open her stomach and drinking the is it amniotic fluid? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, it was delicious.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. It was. It was really, really special. And then also eating the liver just raw. Yeah. So I had a few bites of the liver, and it was actually quite surprising to me that I thought I'd just have one bite, and I was really enjoying it. So wow. I went back for seconds.
Wow. Talk about medicine.
Yeah.
And to also be able to drink that amniotic fluid and eat the liver fresh out of the animal. Just what that must do for your body on a physical level, physiological level, and also an energetic level, I can imagine would just be so powerful.
Yeah, it was super powerful. And also to feel that because there was something energetically because even on the land we were hunting, where all of the deer, the axis deer on Hawaii, came from, I think it was 7 deer that were given to the king of Molokai, however many years ago, and then have grown into like 30,000 plus deer. So, and there's no other predators on the island, so they're overrunning the island. but so many hunters come and just kill the bucks for sport, and then and so there's way too many females. So then the Hawaiians have got to come in and just cull females because there's too many of them. Right. So we were only actually shooting females.
Okay.
One of us ended up shooting a buck accidentally because it didn't have its horns, and you couldn't tell. But yeah, so
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's something beautiful to that as well, of the importance and the to actually benefit the ecosystem by coming in and doing this, and benefiting the ecosystem, benefiting the island, the population of deer and the population of the other animals, and then to also be able to support yourself and to support your dog throughout the year, and to honor the animal by really utilizing every single piece of it.
Yeah.
While also, again, supporting like the entirety of the ecosystem. And I think there's something so primal in everything that you've shared. Just as I hear you talk about it, it feels so primal, like the act of being part of that moment of death of that animal, and the act of feeling the blood dripping down you, and the eating the liver raw and drinking the amniotic fluid. There's something so primal. And I think over the past however many years, there's been kind of a movement away from the primal, and there's been almost like a negative perception of like, oh, that's very primal. But it's actually something that I think is so deeply missing in all of us, and I'll say specifically in this moment for men, connecting to that primal quality, connecting to the capacity to kill, not for the sake of game, not for the sake of sport, not for the sake of unchecked aggression, but rather for the sake of supporting the ecosystem of the body, of nature, of your family, of you and your animal, your dog, to actually reconnect and to be in the primal, ancient experience of that exchange of life, and the wildness of what that entails, and particularly in a day where we've gotten so far away from that wildness and so far away from that primal aspect, but then also deeply crave, like, but I want to feel alive, or I want to have amazing sex, or I want to like reconnect to the primal aspect. And what you're speaking to in this experience, really, it holds such a deep, very real version of what primal and wild is, and the life that comes from the brutality and the magnificence of that moment of death, and receiving back from that. Like, what a profound experience in your life as a man.
Yeah, because I also noticed because the guides were all local Hawaiian guides, and how connected they were to nature and to themselves as well, and all of the projections I had of hunters just completely disappeared. Hunters as sport hunters, my projections have still stayed for those, but like the hunters that are going out to really connect with the land, the animals, and the meat, and just it's such a there's so much skill in it, there's so much connection with nature, there's so much feeling. I just have so much respect for people that are hunting their own meat.
Truly. When you spoke about wanting to question your own ability to eat meat if you haven't been part of that process, there's something in the honoring of the courage that it takes, and the honoring of the reverence that it takes, and the skill that it takes to listen to nature, to honor. Ideally, you're doing it in a way that honors, and to call on that part of your heart that's like deeply caring, and like I love to love animals and to care for their well-being, and to also do this as a part of life.
And there's also a little bit of shadow to it that I could feel, because even in that honoring and there's adrenaline. There's like, this feels fucking amazing, like sad but also amazing. Like I just like had a high-powered rifle and shot something from a certain distance, and can I do it again, like from a further distance? Like there's ego involved, ego and adrenaline. So it's like, because I ended up shooting 2 animals in that hunt, and then stayed for an extra couple of days to shoot another animal. And I had decided I'm only going to take 3. I want my meat for the year, and 3 animals is enough for that, not to get carried away. But I could feel that like bloodlust, like as a man, like, as well as the honor and the reverence, and to be able to keep that in check.
Right. And I think that's so much of that self-mastery piece around, can I experience the wildness and the depth and the excitement and the passion of killing an animal, of being in the throes of wild lovemaking, of whatever it is that this experience, that this deep experience is of life, and to stay in check and to stay connected to your presence and to stay connected to your integrity and your values and your honor through all of that. I think that's a practice of mastery, and like you said, it's in the daily. It's in the, how do I engage with the exciting moments of life, but in the daily practice, how do I stay in balance with it all?
And there was another thing that was quite interesting when we were when I was chopping up all the meat. So I had a whole table full of different cuts of meat, and I took some photos and videos of it. And so I'm creating this business for men, and I'm going to sort of share this story in a YouTube video and on Instagram. And I was like, oh, I can't really show just like all of this meat, that will trigger people. And then I was thinking about it, like I was like, why not? Like, because like we go to a supermarket and there's these big racks of like hundreds of pieces of meat. But if I showed like a table of meat that I'd shot, like people, would get triggered by it. Well, that's my perception anyway. And just such an interesting thing.
I mean, and how we can see a butcher shop and somehow it feels so different because there's this
completely disconnected.
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
in plastic. It's
exactly.
like these little styrofoam things and the meat.
It's sterile.
Like it's like it's not an animal. It's meat. Yeah.
I remember once being. I was visiting a friend and she lived with a family, and they lived up in the hills, and it was a mom, a dad, they had one baby, and the woman and the man, they were going in for like their date night. They were going into town, and my friend and I were making some arts and crafts or something. We were doing something cute up in the mountains, and they were like, we're going to town, we're going to this concert, and they got all dressed up and they were so excited to go have their date night, which they weren't getting a lot of up in the mountains with their baby. They had a babysitter and they were all ready, and they left, and maybe like 40 minutes, we were about 40 minutes from town, and about 40 minutes later they arrived back at home. And we were like, what happened? And they said, on our way down, we were driving down the mountain, and the car in front of us hit a deer. And in that moment, of course, we're wearing our beautiful clothing, and we were so excited to go see this musician. But in that moment, what comes first is honoring life. What comes first is, there's an animal dying right here. How do we support this animal in its process of death and make it as painless as possible? And then how do we honor this animal by throwing it in the back of the car and taking it home and processing it right now? And how do we also support our family and honor life itself by, I don't get to go on my date night, but I get to go spend a couple of hours like truly honoring life in the deepest way possible. And I was so inspired by that, by their priorities.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I have been a little worried about my meat actually in this process, because after we prepared it, we put it into coolers and to ship it back to the US, but it was just over Christmas, so they had to delay the shipments, and then it ended up getting shipped right in the middle of the fires. And so I live in Los Angeles, in Topanga, so right where the fires were, and I had these two big coolers worth of meat that somehow arrived in the middle of all of the roads had been closed. I don't know how a delivery van got in and delivered them to my house. While I wasn't even there, I was in Australia, but I had a friend organised to pick it up. And then there was just this feel like this whole journey of like honouring life, and I maybe have these two containers of meat that are just going to like completely go off, and I'm going to have wasted all of this life.
Right.
So that was quite distressing. And then like a lot of my friends came together to go up and get it, like got in through the roads, got the meat, and then because we couldn't put it in the freezer because the power was off in Topanga, we had to keep it they kept filling the containers up for like I think 7 days with fresh ice until we could get it into a proper freezer. So there was a lot of extra honoring of life and circumstances that were unforeseen.
Right.
That,
And the fact that you had friends also that showed up for that and honored life enough to be like, yeah, I'm going to refill your cooler with ice for 7 days.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah.
So then you, at the end of the 7 days, did you say that you did another ceremony at the end? And the whole thing is, it sounds like very much a week long.
Yeah, so that
ceremony.
was a ceremony that was like a closing ceremony to thank the land, also to connect as brothers. So it was all men that were on this trip. So we did a day ceremony where we drank multiple times throughout the day, but lighter, and we were sort of walking and being with nature, not talking, just being with the other men and with nature, and just connecting and giving gratitude, basically. So it was a gratitude journey, and then so that just felt really beautiful. And there was a lot of often in an ayahuasca ceremony I'll go really deep, and it felt more like in the second part of the ceremony I was really connecting with the other guides, and we were sharing and we were talking. So it just felt like a beautiful like it was an integration and gratitude for the hunt, and so that felt really, really special as well.
Beautiful.
And then all coming out afterwards and like sitting in the forest and sharing throughout the week, what our biggest sort of takeaways were, and there were so many beautiful stories of all of the guys and what their internal like journey had been, and why they were there, and what they'd experienced. So that was both bonding with all of the guys as well as with nature and the hunt. So it was it was beautiful.
And to use this word again, like there's something so ancient about that, and across the globe for thousands of years the primary hunters have been men, and from what I have understood from various places around the world, the hunt itself is such a bonding experience, both with nature, with the animals, with the spirits around, with the self, and with
the community,
the people that you're hunting with, and so there's something so beautifully ancient about this experience being a week-long, deeply prayerful and deeply intentional experience that you got to share with other men, and that you also got to share with other men who, I'm guessing maybe some had some hunting experience and for some it was new for, but to be able to really share how does this land in my modern body to be part of this very, very ancient action.
It also did feel very community, family as well, because we were only like, part of the hunt was one animal per person, and if you didn't shoot, and like it was, we share the meat. So there were, I think, I can't remember exactly, like nine of us, something like that. And if only 6 of us had ended up killing an animal, we would have shared the meat just between everybody. Yeah. We ended up getting one animal for each person, which was good. But yeah, it felt very like, not this like, that's my animal.
Right.
That's the animal. These animals are to sustain all of us.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
How was the meat?
I haven't had any yet because it has arrived. It's in my freezer in Topanga. I haven't spent any time there, and from here it's got to be defrosted and taken to the butcher, because the butcher's going to turn it all into sausages and different cuts of meat. However, my dog has he absolutely loved it. And it was a little scary, because it was a big bone that I gave him, and he ate the whole bone.
Wow.
And there was maybe that much left when I went out to see, but it was this big shardy spike. So I was like, oh my god, yeah. So I was a little like, I was like, do I want to be giving him all of these bones? So I'm going to do a little bit more research into whether it's okay to give him the rest of the bones, or whether I need to cook them or something first. But like, he devoured that bone like 100 times more than he would devour any other bone.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Something I've noticed when I have like really fresh meat, and it's not super common like that I have like killed within the past few days, like really good quality wild animal meat. When I do, I can't have it past 6 p.m. or I'm up all night. Like the amount of
energy
and like, yeah, like vitality that comes through that meat. It's
Yeah.
like, I remember once I was back home visiting family and I had this little piece of venison that was super fresh, and it was 9 p.m. and I remember being 3:30 in the morning, like pacing around the house, just like pulsing with life and feeling amazing, like almost feeling high from it, like
Yeah.
whoa, that feels good, like I can almost feel the blood moving through my
Yeah.
body. And yeah, it's a different experience.
I had some of that feeling because the one of the friends that I went with, who also was the facilitator for the ayahuasca, he has done quite a few hunts before, and we'd been eating his meat when I went over to his house, and it just felt, it feels so like without the hippie speak, like it just feels clean, and it feels like there's an energy in it. And he even comments the same as that, what you'd said, that he just feels so alive, and he won't eat any other meat anymore. He won't go out. He'll go out to restaurants and he'll be vegetarian, and then when he comes home, he'll eat the meat that he's connected with and shot and honored. Just that whole process just makes the meat feel so good in his body. So I'm really looking forward to eating some of it. And I now have my freezer full for a year, and when I get back to LA, I'll be able to start eating it.
Incredible. What a beautiful experience. It's so good to hear about your journey with it, and to hear all the little details that I've been waiting to ask you about for these past couple of months. It's been 2 months now since you went on this trip?
Yeah, a little bit more, like three and a bit. Yeah.
3 months now.
Yeah.
So you said that so much of your medicine is around the daily practice, and I'm curious how you've noticed that really impact your daily practice. And maybe that's your daily practice of eating, but also it could be your daily practice in other ways. But how has this specific experience of engaging with life and death in that way, and engaging with the honor of life and death with such hands-on tactile experience, how's that impacted you?
Yeah, the biggest impact has been in more honouring my food. Like, I have a lot of friends who are very into giving gratitude for their food before they eat it, and I've always tried, and I sort of enjoy it, but then I forget, or I haven't really felt it deeply. And I'm a very experiential person. Like, I need to experience things to connect to them. So what's changed is, like, now when I'm eating my food, whether it's something I've hunted or not, because I haven't eaten my hunted food yet, but if I'm at a restaurant or I'm just cooking my own food out of LA, I have I'm able to connect to it a lot more. Like, when I remember to because I still also forget, and it's a practice for me to make sure I want to keep remembering and connecting with all of the food that I'm eating, and when I do, it just feels so much deeper. Yeah.
I'm so much like that as well. Like, I need to experience something for it to be a practice for me, or for me to experience something as sacred. For example, I need to have felt it as sacred, or to experience something as
the energy in your body of the connection, rather than just trying to imagine the connection to the vegetable, or imagine the connection to the meat.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do my best to imagine when I don't have the felt sense experience, but in general, I like to, even when I'm teaching, it's like, if I haven't actually experienced the whatever ancient technique that it is, like, I've got to try it and feel it before I can really feel good about engaging with it as a deep daily practice. And
because even something like I remember when I was growing my own vegetables, I could feel a lot more connection to them. And then when I was eating those particular, I could have a lot more gratitude for them, because I could, they'd been with me. And when there's so much separation in between us and our food or anything in life, it's harder to connect with it.
And I really truly believe that the act of reconnecting to what we're eating, and where we put our waste, and those very basic human things. I think when I hear so many men talking about wanting to access more of their primal nature, wanting to access their primal within sex, within lovemaking, and I truly believe that accessing the real, true primal aspects of life is a direct connection back to that. Where's your food coming from? Do you have your hands in the dirt? Do you even touch the dirt? When was the last time your bare feet were on the ground? Do you have a relationship to the food
Yes,
that you're
'cause
eating.
you can't be primal in your head.
Exactly.
Primal is in the body and the
Exactly.
connection with nature.
And it's hard to be primal in like a 10th story apartment if you're not also going down and like intentionally connecting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So will you tell us a little bit about the project that you're currently working on, which is very much so about daily practice and very much so about connecting into yourself and specifically for men, connecting to themselves in deeper ways?
Yeah, so the business that I've started is called The Practice, and it's all different practices from different teachers and traditions around the world that help men deepen in intimacy with themselves, get to know themselves better, their depth, their primal, their love, and so that they can connect with the people they love. So it's deepening in intimacy both with self and with other. And the reason I'm creating this is, like I said, I'm an experiential person, and there's so much out there that, like podcasts, which are a lot of people talking about things, which I think is awesome as well. But I felt that it was missing a lot of the embodiment. So I'm going out and I'm filming a lot of these practices with different teachers around sort of sexuality, relationship, polarity, intimacy, intimacy with nature, intimacy with life, and then showing the steps of the particular practice and sharing that with men.
I'm so happy that you're doing this. I love it because it's also it's so accessible, and the fact that you're doing this with different teachers, and that you're, when you and I first talked about this, you asked me, you were like, if you were to give men one practice, what would that one practice be? And it really made me think, like, wow, what would the one practice be? Because in my teachings and in my programs, it's like you do all these different practices that are all kind of part of the same trajectory. But if there was one practice that I could share, what would it be? And it really got me thinking about what are the elements of the daily, we return back to this again and again, or the practices that are like windows to a deeper experience, and that you do one once and all of a sudden things feel different for you. And I'm so looking forward to seeing all the different teachers that you have on those videos explaining these practices that they have deemed one of the most important things, if not the most important practice. Like what a beautiful way to collect information and share it with people.
And selfishly as well, I get to do what I love, which is go around the world and experience different practices and people and feel them in my own body and also share that with men.
What a gift to the world, truly. So how do people find out more about that? I know it's kind of in its launching moments right now. How do people find out about it? I mean, we've filmed a bunch and they'll be launching soon. So it'll be livethepractice.com and Live the Practice on Instagram and YouTube as well. Amazing. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Andrew, thank you so much for sharing this story. It's a gift to hear about it in detail, especially because it feels like it's such a deeply personal and deeply spiritual experience that you got to have. So thank you so much for sharing it with me and sharing it with us and everyone listening. So appreciate you. Yeah, thank you for being curious. Yeah. And thank you for also your, what I spoke to at the beginning, like this simultaneous holding of so much depth and so much intention and so much integrity, and then also just like knowing how to have a good time and like engaging in life with play and with levity and with joy. I so deeply appreciate that about you.